Alexander Usyk has publicly announced that he has accepted Tyson Fury's offer of a 70-30 purse split in Fury's favor. According to ESPN, the two parties have a tentative agreement in place for April 29th in London. The only compromise Fury appears to have made is an agreement to donate £1 million of his purse to the people of Usyk's country to assist with their current situation. Taking that into account, that would reduce Fury's percentage down to 65% maybe, but he still gets the lion's share, and he deserves the lion's share because he is the bigger commercial draw. Nobody could ever dispute that. However, Usyk is worth more than 30% commercially. I've got no doubt about that whatsoever. He's done 3 pay-per-views at heavyweight, 1 with Chisora and 2 with AJ, which did very well. And his commercial value has grown as a result of those fights. Usyk is also a very proud man, and he brings 3 belts to the table. And while belts don't have much intrinsic value, they do unlock the potential for you to earn more once you acquire them. Taking all these things into account, I did not expect Usyk to accept 30%. I thought he would walk away if Fury didn't budge, especially after he'd already made a number of concessions to accommodate Fury. He agreed to miss out on a Saudi deal he was happy with and fight Fury in the UK instead. He allowed Team Fury to move the goalposts on a 50-50 split, something they'd previously agreed to. Usyk then proposed a 60-40 split to the winner, and Fury turned it down. When Fury then countered with this 70-30 thing, I thought that would be the final straw and Usyk would walk away. The fact that he accepted the offer and is allowing himself to get screwed over financially is testament to how much he wants this fight. The only profound thing that Anthony Joshua has probably ever said is that in boxing, you don't get what you deserve. You get what you can negotiate. An example of that would be when AJ fought Charles Martin. AJ was a much bigger draw commercially than Charles Martin, but he agreed to give Martin the lion's share of the money in exchange for the opportunity to fight for the IBF title. Martin did not deserve the lion's share from a purely commercial perspective. But the person who has the power in most negotiations is the one who's most willing to walk away from the table. And with this undisputed fight, that's obviously Tyson Fury. He's more willing to walk away from this fight than Usyk is, and that gives him leverage. Usyk wants what Fury has much more than Fury wants what Usyk has. Usyk cares about becoming a 2-weight undisputed champion, and he's willing to make massive concessions in order to get the opportunity. One thing I was not aware of, though, is the fact that the WBA issued a deadline of 5 p.m. yesterday for Usyk to agree to face his mandatory Daniel Dubois or risk being stripped of his title. The only way to get an exemption was to agree terms with Fury for an undisputed unification. They managed to keep that very quiet. But in light of this, it contextualizes all the noise that Usyk's team have been making over the past week because that WBA deadline was imminent. So does Usyk really intend to accept 30%? Or is he just saying it to buy himself more time to negotiate a better split? I suspect it's the former, but I guess the latter is also a possibility. Now, some would argue that Usyk has called Fury's bluff here by accepting 30%. Perhaps Fury didn't believe Usyk would agree to such a lowball offer and would walk away, allowing Fury to go and fight Ngannou or somebody else instead. But since Usyk has accepted, perhaps Fury has painted himself into a corner here. He's got a massively lopsided purse split in his favor. He's already moved the goalposts a number of times, and the public pressure is ramping up. He has to go through with the fight now, surely. Usyk has removed every single obstacle that Fury has placed in his path. What other demands could Fury possibly make? There is a tentative agreement in place but the fight is not yet signed. And we've been here before with Spence Crawford last year. We were told they'd agreed terms only for the fight to fall apart. Hopefully, Usyk Fury doesn't go the same way. One thing that makes the current situation more promising is the fact that both fighters have accepted the terms publicly, which wasn't the case with Spence Crawford, as far as I remember. Anyway, before I go, I'll just touch on something I mentioned in a previous video about Usyk Fury, which is my suspicion that for some fighters, the negotiation process isn't just about satisfying their greed or their ego. It's also about imposing their will on the opponent as a means of psychological warfare. The idea is, if you can get your opponent to concede to all your demands, you're going to feel as though your will is stronger than theirs, and that will carry through into the fight itself. If you can make them concede at the negotiating table, you can make them concede in the ring. That's the idea. And also, if you mess them around enough in negotiations and get them to accept a deal they're not really happy with, they might go into the fight uptight and upset, and that might negatively affect their performance in the ring. Now, I'm not saying that Fury does this for certain, but to me, it's definitely a possibility. Fury is a very intelligent, crafty, and shrewd operator. He has a very good understanding of human psychology and how to manipulate it. He's a master of mind games. Usyk, though, I think, is much more intelligent and mentally tough than the opponents Fury has faced in the past. So perhaps Fury feels like he needs to go the extra mile here in terms of messing Usyk around to try and gain a psychological edge. Food for thought. Let me know what you guys think.
Are you sick and tired of the mainstream mindset? Does the dogmatic conformity and pathological ignorance have you tearing your hair out in frustration? Then don't be alone. Come and join our brotherhood on Patreon. We stand as a beacon of reason against an army of insanity. You'll gain access to my weekly topical podcast where we take more deep dives than Jacques Cousteau on an endless variety of subjects. There's also videos, interviews, live Q&As, as well as a vast back catalogue of previous episodes, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen via the Patreon app or download in high-quality MP3. Connect with myself and hundreds of other members in our Element chat group. There's no contract, no commitment, you can cancel at any time, and it's cheaper than a Mickey D's McMuffin. Just head to my Patreon page via the link below this video and select the tier called the Brotherhood of Reason. I'll see you over there.